Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon. Welcome to our Seniors Real Estate and Services video series. I'm Sandra Roman. I'm with Keller Williams Points North. I'm a real estate agent here in Long Island, New York. And I'm with my friend Denise. Hi, Denise. How are you?
I'm
Haven't
good.
seen you for a long time.
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Perfect.
Good. So we're here again this week, and we're happy to provide some information and some community outreach for everyone who's interested, and some information on what services are out there. We have a great guest here with us tonight. But before we get to her, we're going to talk about where you can find us and how you can help us to increase our visibility. You can like us and comment on Facebook and Instagram. Denise Lanzarone, Your Local Realtor, is on Facebook and on Instagram. And how about you, Sandra? Where do we find you?
They can find me everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as Sandra Roman Real Estate. If you're watching me on YouTube, please ring the bell, subscribe to my channel, follow me, leave me your comments, and share. If you are on Facebook, share as well. Follow us on Facebook. If you have a senior in your life, or you know someone that might be interested in this information, please share that information. That's why we're doing this series of videos, just to bring information to the community. Remember, we are, is this our last one, Denise, or we are to be determined?
Well, it was going to be our last one, but we had people reach out and want to be on the show. So I think we're extending it for a week or two.
Okay. So we're going to keep you posted if we're going to have one or two more. And we are 7 p.m. We are live on Denise's Facebook page, Denise Lanzarone, Your Local Real Estate or Realtor. How was it?
Yes.
I thought I had it right this time, but no. And you can see it. We're live on my Facebook page as well, Sandra Roman Real Estate, and on YouTube, Sandra Roman Real Estate. And Denise, hi, Jean. Welcome. Remember, we have on the description box a link where you can put your information. We're going to send you a PDF file with all the information from our guests from the first season, and all the information our guests from this season are leaving us. So what else, Denise?
Yeah, so that's just a great resource to have in case you ever need the information of the people the contact information of the people that we have on the show. If you ever need their services, we have a file, a manual that's set up that has all their information in there and a little bit about what they do. So that's a good thing to have to keep with you.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to introduce our guest for tonight. It's Julie Wexler from the Bristol, and she's going to talk to us about assisted living.
Welcome,
Julie. Hi.
Thank you for being with us today.
I'm so excited to be here with you. I think it's just fabulous what you girls are doing. It's really exciting.
Thank you. We're excited.
Where can they find you?
We have fun anyway, right? Okay.
Where can they find you, Julie?
Oh, where can they find me? So I am the Director of Business Development at the Bristol Assisted Living. So our website is www.thebristol.com. If anybody has any questions after the show, you're always welcome to reach me directly on my cell phone, which is 631-926-8864. I'm always happy to talk to you. Even if the Bristol is not the right fit for your family, I'm happy to put you in the right direction. So feel free to reach out.
That's great. Thank you.
So we start with the topic. I'm the question lady. What is assisted living?
Such a good question. Thank you for asking. So I want you to stop thinking about the old age home of yesteryear. I think what happens with a lot of older adults, they hear assisted living and their mind goes to this image of the old age home. So let me tell you that the population is living longer. And with that comes the need for more supportive services for folks as they age. And aren't we lucky to be here, right here on Long Island, and to have a resource like the Bristol? So think of the Bristol as really a cruise on land, if you will, right? It's a beautiful, almost like a luxury apartment building where residents have their own apartment and they have their own space and they have that sense of independence. But when they open the door and they come downstairs, they have 3 meals a day prepared for them. They have activities planned for them, like exercise and word games and entertainment and discussion groups and trips. And you have somebody that comes into your apartment and cleans your apartment for you and does your laundry. And if the time comes that you need any kind of help with taking a shower, with getting dressed, we have a whole team, our wellness team, that can help you with that as well. So you have that sense of independence. So you have your beautiful apartment. And then you also have all these supportive services that are there to support you as you get older when things might start getting a little harder for you.
And I have questions all the time. So what age do you start receiving people?
That's a good question. So with our licensing, and we are licensed by the New York State Department of Health, generally the age is about 62 or 65 and over. However, at the Bristol, our average age is 87, right? Oh, wow. So that's not to say that we don't have residents that come to us in their 60s because maybe they have early onset Alzheimer's. And then we actually have somebody who is 107 who lives at one of our communities.
Oh, wow.
107. Yep. Oh, my goodness.
So it is a big range. But generally, the average age is in that mid to upper 80s range when folks are moving into our communities, and for a variety of reasons.
Mm-hmm. And who's a good candidate to go for assisted living?
So I like to break that up into kind of 3 main categories, just as an easy way to kind of understand it and to kind of paint a picture in your mind on who assisted living might be a good option for. Mm-hmm. So we have many residents who choose to move to our communities because they're living in a big house, right? The American dream, they grew up in Brooklyn or Queens, and then they bought their house in the suburbs in Nassau, Suffolk County, maybe back in the 1960s or 70s. And they've got these big houses and stairs, laundry in the basement. Yeah. They're becoming more isolated. They're having to worry about cooking and grocery shopping and the snow shoveling and the gardener and all those things. And now maybe they're 90 and maybe their spouse has passed away, or maybe they just don't want to have to manage the home anymore. So they choose to move to the Bristol really for lifestyle reasons, to sort of downsize, to simplify their life, for safety reasons, peace of mind for their families. They're still really pretty independent. They're just of advanced age. You want to bring your car? That's not a problem. You can have your car as well. So that's that one category of folks who are, like I said, pretty independent, but don't want to have to manage a house anymore, maybe having some issues with social isolation. And so they move to the Bristol to be around other people and to simplify their life and to get pampered a little bit. And then there's folks who might need a little bit of extra help with what we call activities of daily living. So this is somebody who maybe is a little unsteady and needs a little help getting in and out of the shower, or maybe has some arthritis and needs help getting dressed in the morning, buttoning those buttons. Mm-hmm. Or maybe somebody who's on 12 medications and they just landed in the hospital because they mixed up their medicines, right? And so they need help managing their medications. So if you need a little bit of extra help, we have a whole team of people to help you do that. And then we have folks who live in our secured memory neighborhood called Reflections. So for folks with more significant memory loss, who need a smaller, more structured, more supportive environment that's specifically designed for people with memory loss, Alzheimer's, or other form. It's a sort of a community within the community that helps them live safely, securely, and with dignity and in safety. So you have those folks that are pretty independent. You have those folks that might need a little bit of extra assistance with activities of daily living. And then you have folks that might have some memory loss. So those are sort of the three broad categories of who assisted living, who would benefit from considering assisted living.
Hey,
Can
I
they
like the
drive?
idea.
I'm sorry. No, go, Denise.
I was going to say, I just like the idea of someone cooking for me every day.
Me
That's
too.
right. That's right. Yeah. So included in the monthly rent are 3 meals a day in our beautiful dining room, and it's waiter service. You come down, the waiter takes your order, and at the Bristol specifically, we take the dining experience very seriously. So it's not just, 1 or 2 options. We have a full menu of things to choose from. And we also have a lot of different diet options because as people get older, sometimes they have, certain dietary needs. They might need a sugar restricted diet or a salt restricted diet, or maybe they have celiac. We're actually one of the few assisted livings, if not the only assisted living in New York State that actually has a gluten-free menu. Or maybe they need a puree diet or a soft to chew because of swallowing concerns. So all these different diet options that we can provide for you as well.
And who drives the car? Can they drive?
Yeah, if you're still driving and you want to bring your car and you still have your license, you can absolutely have your vehicle. Not too many people have their cars, but my dad actually lives in a Bristol, and he's got his car and he goes to his bridge game 3 days a week. So it definitely is a possibility.
That's awesome.
That it is. And well, how there are some conversations that need to be had, and it's usually difficult to have those conversations, especially with your parents. How do you do that? How to tell them, Dad, Mom, you need assisted living, because they don't want to move.
Yeah, that's a very big challenge and something that we help families through every day. So
how to talk about it, how to bring the subject.
Yes. So we always have to remember that, where that person is coming from, where our parents are coming from. And even the concept of assisted living didn't exist. The Bristol's only a 22-year-old company. So to you and me, like 22 years ago, that really wasn't that long ago, right?
Yeah.
And when our parents were caring for their aging parents, the idea of, you cared for somebody at home, right?
At home, yeah.
Or they lived and died in that house that they bought back in the 1970s. But, that was a good concept, and that worked when, the life expectancy was in their 70s. But now as people are getting older and living into their 80s and 90s, and the houses are no longer conducive for them to be able to age safely in them, it is a very difficult conversation to have. My suggestion to families is actually to do your homework before you broach the subject. Because you're going to get objections. You're going to get the, I'm not moving out of my house. And you're going to get, I'm not going to the old age home. And you're going to get the, you're just putting me away, or you're going to spend all my money. Those places are too expensive. Those are the kinds of arguments you're going to have. So it's really important for you to kind of do your homework, I think, before you broach the subject.
Yes.
And so that you know what the options are, and then when you start getting those objections, you can say, you can tell them what the truth is, right? The other thing is to remember is that everyone's going to be a little bit different, and sometimes if somebody has a little bit of memory loss, like the conversation might be a little bit different because that person's going to be maybe very fear-based, right? And if they have some memory loss, they're trying really, really hard to kind of hold on to things that are familiar. And the house that they've been living in for a long time is what's familiar to them.
Yes.
I joke sometimes. Actually, I joke all the time. And I say nobody does cartwheels into senior living. There is the vast majority of the time resistance to making any move. Moving is hard, right? We know that moving is one of the top stressors, in our lives. And that doesn't change when you're, 90 years old and you just lost your husband, or you're 85 years old and you had a fractured hip recently.
Exactly.
Or you're trying so hard to hold on to that independence and this idea of moving out of this house that, you bought years ago was really, you never really thought you would have to do that. And so that's why I suggest to families, to really come from a loving place, right? Because all that's really what it is, right? We love our parents and we want them to be safe, and we want them to have the best quality of life that they can have. And sometimes the house that they're living in is not that anymore. Being
Exactly.
isolated, not eating well. And what about what you're going through? Running mom to doctor's appointments, or having to do the grocery shopping for, the sandwich generation. We're right in there, Sandra and Denise, right? We were just talking about that, how we're caring for our own children, also caring for our parents. And so, doing the grocery shopping. And I was talking to a family yesterday, 3 siblings, and dad is living in the house, by himself, and he's got vision problems. He's got hearing problems. The one daughter's going to the house every day to cook for him. The other son, he's going to the house every day and fixing what's broken in the house. And the other one is managing all the doctors and the medicines and everything else. It's a lot. And so, that's with 3 siblings. Can you imagine if there's really only one? So,
or if they are in different states.
Yes.
Or countries.
Oh, yeah, my case. My case.
No.
Well, but I was just wondering how much more of the assisted living service have you seen now than before? Like it's in, it's more demand for that type of.
There's definitely more demand for a couple of different reasons. One is because the population is living longer. So, and we also have the baby boomers, the graying of America with, that population swell now hitting their 70s and 80s and 90s. So there's more people who are potentially candidates, for assisted living. But the other thing I think that's happening, and I think the pandemic made this even more abundantly clear, is the detrimental effects of social isolation. And people living in homes by themselves, and how difficult that can be. And not to say that, our industry wasn't very much affected by the effects of the pandemic, but now that we're kind of past that piece of it, I think the social isolation as we age has really become more top of mind with people, and they understand the benefits of living in a more social environment. And another thing I think that's happened is we have created, since the pandemic, a home healthcare crisis and the shortage of home health aides. And so it's very difficult for families to actually find home care, even more difficult than it was 2 years ago, because people have left the industry. So there's a number of different reasons why the demand for assisted living is increasing.
It's increasing.
Yeah. And I think that since people were home more during the pandemic, they actually got to see their parents and how they lived up close and realize that they need help. That I don't think that was, everybody was running off to work and, not around a lot. And then when everybody stayed home, like, oh, mom doesn't really, put those things away right, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, there's a statistical phenomenon, Denise, that we monitor, and that is after Thanksgiving, after Christmas, after Mother's Day and Father's Day, after those big holidays when families get together, that's when we notice an increase of inquiry calls, people calling us looking for information, because when we are busy and living day to day and getting through the day and the week and the month,
we have other distractions.
We're not. But when we have those family gatherings and, gee, mom repeated herself a lot yesterday, or gosh, did you notice mom's clothes weren't very clean? Or we go to the house and, geez, mom looks like she might be hoarding. Like families start to notice the decline. And those are some of the things that we start to look out for, where making a move or maybe looking for some additional support and care might be a good idea.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Diane has a comment.
Hi, Diane. Hello.
Diane was one of our guests a few weeks ago. The problem with assisted living is that it's extremely expensive. In my case, things were taken care of well financially. However, not all people can afford assisted living.
Yes. So
Let's
you
go to
are
the
right.
next question.
How do you pay for assisted living? Thank you, Diane, for that question. So you're right. And the Bristol is not going to be the right option for everyone. So how do you pay for assisted living? So the vast majority of people who move into the Bristol assisted living are people who are fortunate enough to have bought their houses many years ago, and now Denise and Sandra are helping them sell it, and they're using the proceeds from the sale of the house to help them live at a beautiful Bristol assisted living. So through the sale of the house, maybe they have very good pensions, or maybe, and through savings and Social Security. So there are many people who can afford to live at the Bristol. So that's one way, obviously private pay through the sale of the house. And then we have folks who have long-term care insurance. Not everyone has long-term care insurance. Maybe about 20 to 30% of our residents come to us with a policy that they were smart enough and fortunate enough to have purchased many decades ago, which can help them pay for the cost of assisted living. There is a small benefit through the Veterans Administration if you're eligible for it. There is some financial asset and income limitations and other eligibility requirements for that benefit through the Veterans Administration, but that's something that we always talk to families about. So that's for most of our residents, that's how you pay for assisted living. Private pay, the Veterans Administration benefit, or long-term care insurance. There are some assisted living communities on Long Island and throughout the state that do accept Medicaid. There are some, obviously, income requirements and asset requirements for being Medicaid eligible. There's also a clinical requirement for you to meet the requirements for that program. And generally, it's a shared accommodation. And if you need assisted living and you're on Medicaid, it could be a good option for you. We actually have a Bristol on Long Island in Nassau County, soon to be 2, that will also participate in that Medicaid ALP program, it's called. And really the purpose of us at the Bristol, we're a luxury brand, but the purpose of us participating in this Medicaid program is because we're finding that people are living longer. And we're finding that more and more people are outliving their ability to pay and live in our communities. And so us participating in this Medicaid ALP program enables our families to stay with us as mom or dad may sort of outlive their resources and their ability to pay. So it really is intended for our current residents to stay with us at the Bristol, even if they run out of money, if you will. Having said that, there are other assisted living providers on Long Island who do wonderful work and are beautiful communities to live in that are at all different kinds of price points. And also within the Bristol family, people hear, oh, the Bristol, it's so expensive, I can't afford that. Well, we actually have Bristol communities, assisted living, luxury assisted living, that does start at around the $4,000 a month range, which is fairly competitive. So don't think right off the bat, I can't afford to live at the Bristol. You're always welcome to call me. I can help you kind of sort out what your budget might look like and then which Bristol might be the best fit for you. And, in terms of the pricing out of Bristol, a house in Jericho is going to cost more than a house in Westbury, just kind of like that concept. It's a similar idea that the rates vary from Bristol to Bristol a little bit, depending on the area, also depending on the size of the apartment. You always have to remember when you're moving to assisted living, it's not a real estate transaction. You're not, going to get your 2,000 square foot apartment. It doesn't work that way. You're not moving to the Bristol because you're looking for space. You're moving to the Bristol because you need help. You need meals. You need supervision. You need help with your medications. Like those are the things that are more important when you're moving to assisted living, the lifestyle and your safety, than the size of the apartment. So just keep that in mind. People sometimes, the first question they ask me is, how much is it and what's the square footage? And I'm like, that's not why we're having this conversation.
That's the same thing they ask us.
Yeah. Okay, so how to find the right one? How to find the right assisted living? Because we're talking about different options.
Right.
But how to do it? Because, before we were talking about doing our homework. So how do we find it?
So my suggestion to families, and if you're the adult child, caring for your parents, people often ask me if, or they'll say something like, I want mom to be part of the process. This has to be her choice. Absolutely. She needs to be part of the process, and it can be her choice. But, Sandra, you're not quite there just yet, but in a few years, you're going to be going on college tours. And you're going to swear you're going to remember everything about that college tour after the college tour. And then after you visit like 5 or 6 colleges, which one was that? Which one had this? It all is a big mishmash in your mind. And so imagine your 85-year-old mother going on all those visits to assisted living.
You have to,
Yeah. So much better idea, I feel, to do when I say to do your homework first is you really
alone,
need to
and then just give them 3 options.
Exactly.
Or 2.
Because every assisted living, even right here on Long Island, and even among the Bristol communities, every one of them is different. The aesthetic is different. Sometimes people say, oh, the Bristol's too fancy. Well, for somebody, another assisted living might not be fancy enough. So everyone is looking for something different. Some people, and also the population makeup, right? Because some assisted livings, their forte is really caring for a very, very frail population. Other assisted living communities, their forte is the lifestyle and the activities. So if you go to a community that's not the right fit aesthetically, financially, or the makeup of the population, or sort of their focus, this isn't for me. So you look at all those old people, I'm not like them. And then the conversation's over. So definitely, always start, of course, with a phone conversation. You got to take your time. If you call us and you just say, how much does it cost and how big is the apartment? We really need to get to know you and what your family's needs are. So spend some time and be ready to answer lots of questions, because we want to make sure that this is going to be a good fit for us, and it's going to be a good fit for your family as well. So I definitely recommend going and visiting places first. Having said that, not too many families are proactive, right? If everyone was proactive and, mom's going to need assisted living probably in a year or so, so I'm going to go start searching now. It doesn't usually work that way. People usually call us when the crisis happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mom just broke her hip, and dad passed away, and now mom's got dementia and living at home by herself, and we need to find a place for her.
That's happening to, I'm talking of my experience maybe, but that's happening to my parents right now. My mom and my dad, they are living at their home. And, I told you that he was diagnosed with Parkinson's like 2 years ago. And, I can see from seeing them on video, whatever, that or talking to them, that they're starting to need help, but they don't want to realize they need help. So I'm telling my mom, you need to start planning, because when you are going to need the help, it's going to be a crisis situation. And then you're not going to be able to manage because you have nothing planned. And they're going, no, we are okay. No, we are fine. So I think that's what is going to happen to my parents.
Very common situation, Sandra. So one of the other kinds of professionals that you could reach out to, and maybe you don't really know what mom and dad need, and you're just the daughter trying to figure out
what to do with them.
So there are folks out there called geriatric care managers. They're pretty much like case managers. They're people whose expertise is putting together care plans for the elderly, and especially in a situation like this where maybe the person has Parkinson's and maybe the house is no longer safe. And so what the geriatric care manager does is kind of, does an assessment on what their medical needs are, what their financial needs are, what the home situation looks like, and kind of comes up with solutions for the family for them to choose from, and to put that, and to then implement that plan. So that's one option, reaching out to a geriatric care manager. And then to simplify your life in terms of, because there are something like 75 assisted living communities on Long Island. The Bristol, we have 15, soon to be 16. I'm actually sitting right here now at the new Welcome Center at the Bristol at Bethpage, our 16th Bristol on Long Island. But that can be overwhelming for families, and every price point is different, like I said, and sometimes the licensing is a little bit different. Could be a little overwhelming. So there are folks out there called senior housing advocates. And once again, that's their expertise. They assess what the family situation is financially, what the care needs are, what's important to the family, and kind of help narrow things down. And we work very closely with many of these folks to help families make that transition into assisted living.
Parentheses. Let's go with the comments, Denise. We have some comments here.
Yes. Diane wants to know if you could talk about extended license to have residents stay there for hospice care.
Yeah. So most Bristols, including all of them in Suffolk County, I know we're a Suffolk County crew right here, right now. All the Bristols have what's called the enhanced assisted living license. So I think that's what you mean. And so that license is really designed to enable our residents, when they move in, maybe more independent, but over time, be able to stay in our communities. So if they need insulin injections, if they're in a wheelchair, if they need a Puree diet, if they need a Hoyer lift, those kinds of things. There's things that we can do now in assisted living that even a decade ago we weren't allowed to do without this enhanced license. So once again, it's an effort on the part of the state to keep people in assisted living. You shouldn't have to, move to a nursing home simply because you need an insulin injection, right?
Right.
And certainly hospice is always an option for families. So if the time comes and, the family and the doctor all agree that hospice is the next step, you really can get hospice anywhere. So if you can get hospice in your home, you can get hospice in a nursing home, you certainly can get hospice in assisted living as well. And so that really is designed to kind of support or supplement the services that we're already providing for residents at the end of their life. So if somebody is eligible for hospice and the family elects hospice, then they absolutely can get hospice services at our communities.
She also said when the care goes up, the pricing goes up, which is true. But is relating to hospice care, if you're on hospice care, isn't part of your care then taken care of by the hospice company?
Yes, through Medicare, right. So Medicare is designed to support people at the end of life. So any additional services that you're eligible for through your hospice would supplement what we're already providing for you. So yes, it's work as a team.
Yeah.
What other comment do we have, Denise?
I just gave a shout out to Kim Bertolino from Oasis Senior Living because she is wonderful and she can help anybody find the appropriate assisted living.
So when I was talking before about those folks that we work very closely with who can help families sort out what their needs are and their budget and what they're looking for, Kim Bertolino is one of those people that we work closely with, and she does a wonderful job helping families and guiding them through what can be a very overwhelming process.
Well, maybe we can have her and talk in more depth about the topic. Just saying.
She was on last season, wasn't she? Kim, were you on last season?
No, she was not.
Okay.
It was somebody else, but it was not her.
Okay. Oh, I think your daughter just tuned in, Julie.
Oh, okay.
She said she was? No.
I knew she was. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Is she giving away family secrets?
No.
I'm getting hit by age, I guess.
All right. What else can you tell us, Julie? Anything else?
No, hold on. I have questions.
Oh, you have more questions. Okay.
More questions.
Of course.
Now that we do our homework, how do we plan for the transition? Is there like a program where I can send my parents for 2 days or for a week, or how do you do that?
Yes. So we have a very seasoned team and we help you through that process, and it's going to be different for every family. We do have those folks that are excited about it. They've sold their house and now they're really, really looking forward to kind of having an easier lifestyle and living in a beautiful place and being around fun people. And so, typically the process is they leave a deposit. There's lots of paperwork you have to get for us, including a doctor's examination and some paperwork from your physician. And then you meet with our care team, typically our nurse, who does an assessment to determine if you need any help with what we were talking about before, your activities of daily living. Once we have all that, you come in, you sign your residency agreement, you give us the check, we give you the keys. So that's really the simple version of it for somebody who is, ready to move and ready to live a great life. Typically, we really suggest to families that you bring things from home. That apartment is your space. We can provide a bedroom set for you. It's a very simple bedroom set, but I really suggest to families to bring things from home that it's really going to make it feel like home for mom. So her, especially her bed, right? So, that's something that's going to be comfortable, right? You want to just start off with that. But maybe there's, an heirloom rocking chair. Maybe there's, mom's dresser that she's had for, 40 years, if it fits in the apartment. So we want you to bring, pictures of the grandkids, artwork, things that are just important to her, that to make it feel like home. You can hang curtains. You can even paint an accent wall. Like you can make it your space. The harder transition is always, or most often, somebody who's moving into our memory care neighborhood. Okay. Because I find that there's so much guilt, especially because it's typically the adult children who are moving mom in if mom has dementia, or maybe it's a wife moving in her husband. And there's so much guilt because now this person who is no longer able to make decisions for themselves, and here you are making this major life decision by moving somebody from one place to the other and spending their money doing it at the same time. So it's very complicated and can be very challenging for families, and they feel so guilty about it. And then it's like, oh, you're so worried. You think that mom's, never going to adjust, and she's going to hate me, and she's going to be so agitated. But I can tell you that in my experience, when somebody moves into one of our memory neighborhoods at the Bristol, it's like they don't have to work so hard anymore because, it's a loving environment. And everything that we do is designed to support people with memory loss. Even the way the building is designed it gives them that sense of freedom and that sense of being safe. The activities, the way that we serve the meal, the way that we communicate with the residents, the way that we help them take a shower. It's very different in memory care compared to assisted living. So when you're dealing with somebody with memory loss who's losing their ability not only to understand language, but to express how they're feeling, you have to have staff who know how to work with that and know how to communicate properly. So we always work with families to come up with a plan, sometimes a very specific plan of what that first day is going to look like. And the first day is the worst day. And vast majority of the time, it gets better after that. And I can tell you that in my experience, it's the family. Like they're the ones with the harder transition because they're feeling so guilty and they're so nervous about it. And I had a woman one time. So, usually we usually suggest to families that come in mid-morning, spend a little time in reflections in our memory neighborhood, maybe go to some activities with mom while you maybe have another family member setting up the apartment. And now it's lunchtime and mom's going to sit down at lunch. And now she's going to, she's going to have her peers to have her lunch with, and you leave. Just like however hard it was to leave your kid that first day
in the kindergarten.
you gotta let it go. And then we call you to let you know how mom's day went, and then we'll call you again in the morning. So I moved to a family in one time, and the daughter was like, she just thought mom was just going to be pounded on the door trying to get out and was just going to give the staff the hardest time ever. And she called me in the morning before I could get to her. And are you ready for me to pick up my mother? That's what she asked me. And I said, you know what? I actually just went to check on your mother, and she's eating breakfast with her 3 new best friends.
That's awesome.
Yep. And so, the structure, people kind of cling to that. And like once you're in an environment, like I said, that's sort of designed to help you and support you and make you feel safe, it really can be a beautiful thing. So you might not think it's possible, but this is what we do. And I've seen it happen over and over again.
Yeah, maybe it's the family that has all these feelings, that you're feeling guilty, that you are leaving your parent there, and it's not on the parent, it's on
you.
I have a
us.
couple of questions here. Lori says, generally, isn't assisted living very expensive? We kind of went over that before.
Lori was late.
Lori was late.
So you also just have to keep in mind, I just want to address that because yes, we did talk about pricing and how to pay for it. Yeah, and you're talking memory care that could, our memory care very often starts at $85, $86, $8,700 a month. But if you're at the point in your life that you need a secured memory neighborhood, any care that you're going to need is going to cost. So even if you're getting home care and you need home care 24/7, that's going to cost you. I spoke to a family yesterday. Mom is at home. Do you know they're spending $20,000 a month on home health aides? They have an aide that's there 24/7, and they have another aide that comes in to kind of give that aide a break, a few hours a day. Yeah. And then they have somebody who comes in and does like the shopping. I mean, it's going to be less expensive for her to move into the Bristol, even on our highest level of care. So people, yes, it is expensive, but unfortunately, when you're at the point where you need that level of care, it has to get paid for somehow. So if you're fortunate enough to have a house that Sandra and Denise are going to sell for you, isn't that fantastic? Or sometimes people need to go onto Medicaid or spend their resources, they spend down until they go on to Medicaid. So every family's financial situation is going to be different. There are elder law attorneys and financial planners and geriatric care managers and people out there that can kind of help each family figure out, these are mom's assets. This is how long it would last. This is what the care is that they need. So it's a very complex situation, but we're here to help you and support you. And if we're not the right person, then I'm here to refer you to somebody who can be the right person.
Well, she also wanted to know is how do you figure out how many years of care you will need? That's a tough one. I know.
Yeah, we don't have a crystal ball. And at the Bristol, we don't do a financial review to figure out if you can afford to pay for it. We tell you how much it costs. We tell you to calculate in the future potentially increased care needs as you get older, and also rate increases over time. And, the average stay in assisted living nationally is 2.5 to 3 years. We don't have a crystal ball. Like I said, we have a woman who's 107 who lives in one of our buildings. But, our feeling is that if you can pay for assisted living, at least for a few years, you're in pretty good shape. And like I said, it's not going to be for everybody. And the Bristol might not be for everybody. There are other options out there. So we're here to help you with that and find the right place.
Okay, Jean wants to know if a resident is hospitalized and needs rehab, is their apartment held for them or do they lose it?
No, as long as you're continuing to pay the rent, which you do need to continue to pay, your stuff is in the apartment. So that happens very, often with, somebody who has some sort of an illness or, has to go to the hospital. Unfortunately, what happens when older adults go to the hospital and then they're laying in bed for a couple of days, they very, very quickly atrophy. And so, they might walk into the hospital, but now they're laying in bed for 4 days and now they need to go to rehab. Right.
Right.
So our goal is, to work with that rehab and get that person kind of like back home as quickly as we can. But I always encourage people, if you are clinically eligible for rehab, go to rehab. Get as strong as you can be before you come back to us. We don't want you coming back and falling again. We don't want you coming back and not having a good transition. So to answer your question, as long as you're continuing to pay the rent and your stuff is in the apartment, it's your apartment.
Yep. And then the assisted living comes to I worked in the rehab for many years, but they come back to the rehab and assess, right, whether the resident can come back to their facility.
That's always our goal. And so, we go to the rehab, and when the person's, finished, they get, under their Medicare, their insurance, they're entitled to X number of days in rehab. And so when the rehab feels that they're ready and they meet certain milestones, we go to the rehab and we assess them and have them come back.
Yep. Okay. I think I answered everybody. Oh, Lori says, yes, she was late.
She was late.
You can watch the recording, Lori. Don't worry.
We're not repeating ourselves. That's just kidding. Is there any other question that we may have?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
You have questions, Denise? I'm out of questions.
So, Julie, I know that you offer tours, and people can come to your facility and look around and see what it's like. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So typically what happens is it starts with a phone call. And I mean, you could just walk in, but my recommendation is always to call us first, because so we do occasionally get a day off. And we just want to make sure that we have the time to spend with you. We might be with another family, so we want to just make sure that we have the time to spend with you, right? So definitely better to call us. And as I mentioned before, we're going to ask you a lot of questions, because we want to make sure that, we're not wasting your time. So if, dad absolutely hates movies and never goes to the movies, we're not going to spend time showing you the movie theater, right? So we want to make sure that we kind of personalize the tour and are showing you the things that are going to be important to you. Like maybe mom is coming out of rehab, and so what's important to you is that she's going to be able to continue getting physical therapy when she comes back, or maybe mom loves getting her hair done, so we want to make sure we show you that hair salon. So but there's we want to make sure it's just going to be a good fit for you all around. So we're going to ask you a lot of questions. We'll schedule a time for you to come in. We'll take a tour. I always like to introduce families to our residents. One thing to hear from us, it's another thing to hear it from a resident who actually lives at the Bristol, that this is a nice place to live. And everyone was fearful when they first got there. Everyone, it's like, being the new kid on the block, like who wants that, right? But we have, we have an incredible recreation team, and we really work together, the entire management and the staff, to make sure when residents move in that they're adjusting well, that they're finding their way around the building, that they're making new friends, that they know where the dining room is, that they know how to read the calendar for the day, that they know where their mailbox is, like all those things that, can be like nerve-wracking. But the vast majority of people, once they get to us, they realize how much better their quality of life can be, and that life can be fun again. You don't have to struggle in your big house anymore. This is such a wonderful option for people who have the ability to pay for, and the ability to move to our communities. They're very fortunate.
And it's not like they're in prison. They can go to their daughter's house for Thanksgiving. They can go, it's a very nice thing. You can take them out, bring them back. It's nice.
Yes, it's not prison. But I just want to actually, Sandra, you asked me a question before. I'm not sure if I specifically answered it. So you were asking about that transition to assisted living. So no, we don't allow people just to come in for a couple of days, because that really is not enough time. And for those of us, once again, who have college age kids, if we only gave it 2 days, they never would have lasted the week, right? Right. You got to give yourself time to adjust to new situations. So we do have, technically the first month that any resident lives at the Bristol is considered a trial period. So if you move out within the first 30 days, you paid for your month, it's like going on vacation, you can go on your way. I've been doing this for a long time, and the vast majority of people do not move out within 30 days. But that is the option. And we do that to give people that sense of, God, they're not, locked in and stuck here for a year. So what I usually, to kind of ease that transition, I'll say to families, listen, if you're in a financial situation where you don't need to sell mom's house, don't sell her house. Let her come for the winter. Let her just come for a few months and see if this is going to be a better option for you. The vast majority of the time it is, and they decide to stay, and then they sell the house afterwards. So, that month is a trial technically. And, if you're in, like I said, if you don't need to sell the house right away, that might be a sort of a technique for adult children to kind of ease it a little bit with dad, that you're not going to sell the house right away. You just want to see if this is going to be a better option for him.
And you don't want to get rid of all this stuff right away. Make sure that they're comfortable where they're going. And yeah. And we have people that help with that as well.
It's a process. It's a process.
Yeah. So, Sandra, any more questions?
No, senora.
Wow.
I'm out of questions.
That's amazing.
I'm sorry.
Well, I want to thank you. This was really a lot of fun. I really love working with real estate agents because, our goal is to, both, I think, to help people find, the perfect place to live. And it's a little bit more complicated as people get older. So we always love working with you. And listen, like I said before, I know that Bristol's not going to be an option for everyone. But I've been doing this for a long time. I've actually started working in senior services in 1993. So
you were a baby.
I was two when I started doing it. So I'm always happy to talk to families and see if this might be an option for you. And if I'm not, chances are I know somebody who is. So I'm always happy to make that referral. So you're always welcome to call me. 631-926-8864. That's my cell.
631-926.
Should I put it in the chat? I can put it in the chat. Okay.
926. I started it. So what's 926 and then what comes next?
8864.
Okay.
Put it in the chat. I don't see it.
Oh, I just put it.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know if I put it in the right place. Oh, there's all the comments. Okay, it wasn't.
See? Now it's
now I can see what my daughter was saying.
No, she didn't say anything.
Okay.
I just saw that she came on.
Okay.
No, she didn't say anything. Well, so if we have nothing else to say, Julie, where can they find you?
They can find me, like I said, the Bristol's website is www.thebristol, which is BRISTAL.com. Or you can always call me at 631-926-8864. If you visit our website, there's lots of Bristols. Any one of my colleagues at any of our beautiful Long Island, Westchester, New Jersey, or New York City-based Bristol communities can help you. But if you're just, if you want just one person to call because you don't know which Bristol and price points, as I was mentioning before, like I said, you can always call me first.
Denise, where can they find you?
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Denise Lanzarone, your local realtor. Call me anytime, text me, 631-922-5985. If you have any questions, concerns, need any help, we're always here to help. We don't know what to do. We have a lot of people that we know that can help you out.
In English and Spanish, remember.
And English and Spanish, that's right.
Well, so thank you for joining us today. And we'll keep you posted for the next one, right, Denise?
Yes.
Okay. And you can find me, Sandra Roman Real Estate, in Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Remember to follow us in all the
comments,
social media. Like, share, ring the bell. What else? Comments. Remember, we have a link on the description box for the PDF file with all the information that we have from our guests, and whatever they leave us, we have it all together in a PDF file. It's 2 PDF files, one for the first season and the other one for the second season.
Yep.
And what else?
That's it.
It.
We will be posting. We're having another one next week. This was our 6-week series, and but we've had some interest, and we have a few more people that would love to share their knowledge. So we'll keep you posted.
Thank you, Julie, for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Julie.
Thank you. That was so much fun.
Great
to see you.
Adios, amigos.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Don't leave.